We are just now 1 week away from the NFL draft, and we're going to do one more mock draft before we get to Thursday next week, and I'll probably post one then as well for my final, let's see. But either way, before we get into this mock draft, make sure to check out Dubby.gg. Check out all their energy drinks and other products, and use code Shredder for 10% off your order, or click the link in the description. Let's get right into this video. All right, yeah, I know the hair is a little crazy today, but this mock draft is going to be basically what I think will happen. Not what I think should happen, but what I think will happen. Because we're trying to be, we're a week away. We're trying to predict this thing from at this point. So, and if I go on a tangent with another pick, maybe I'll separate that out. But either way, number one, there's no question here. Caleb Williams. Number two, I don't think this should happen, but I think it's going to happen. I think Washington is a team that normally mess things up, and, well, they're going to mess up again. They're going to take Jaden Daniels. Not that he can't be a good NFL quarterback, but in my opinion, he's farther away from being a good one with his decision-making. Drake May is going to be a better option. He goes at 3 quickly. At Arizona's pick, we are going to see a trade. And the trade is the one that we've seen that I think it just should happen. Arizona is going to send, what are we doing here? There we go. Arizona is going to get the 2 first-round picks and maybe even more. We're not worried about that. I'm just worried about this first round being accurate, right? Minnesota trades up, and they're going to take a quarterback themselves. Is J.J. McCarthy of value here at pick 4? Not exactly. But I say not exactly instead of no because of the fact that he's a quarterback, and quarterbacks are just that valuable. End of story. At number 5, the Chargers I think they could trade out, but with Marvin being on the board here, it's not going to take anything. That is the top 5. At this point, this is what I think is going to happen. This is just what I think makes the most sense, what I think the teams should do, would do, could do. It's just, it's too set up for this to happen. At 6, the quarterbacks, I mean, they're gone. Giants have no chance. They're going to let Daniel Jones play another year, and they're going to get him a real, true wide receiver, one potential weapon in Malik Neighbors. That's a great pick. There's nothing wrong with that. They just have to actually try this year. Help Daniel Jones out a little bit. Daniel Jones has not gotten any reason for us to think that he's very good, but at the same time, with the help he had, or the lack thereof of help he's had, you can't expect him to be all that good. There's nothing that you can do to expect him to be all this great. Tennessee, they have to help out their young quarterback, Will Levis. That could be going to get Rome Odunze. That could be getting Joe Alt. That could be, maybe you like another receiver better. Maybe you like an Adonai Mitchell. Personally, I think there's a drop-off, but I don't think it's super bad. You could go get a DB. That's potential as well. At this point, I do think Joe Alt is too good of a player to pass up here. They also have too big of a need at the position for that to happen. Atlanta, this is an interesting one. I am not sure what I think they're going to do right now. They could trade out. Honestly, they should trade out. If somebody's looking to get up, Atlanta should be the team to come down because they could go get any of the cornerbacks that are going to be in this class if they move down. Cooper DeJean, Quinion Mitchell, Terry Arnold, Nate Wiggins, Kool-Aid McKinstry. You can get one of those guys later in this first round. Now, who is that? I don't know exactly. You'd really be looking at somebody to come up and get Rome Odunze, and here's who I think is going to do that. The Arizona Cardinals. They did this last year with Paris Johnson Jr. They took, where are we at? They're going to trade 11 for 8. We're not going to do 27 because it's only 3 spots, right? So we'll do like a second rounder next year. They're going to keep all their first rounders, right? They're trying to get as many assets as they can. They move up to 8 to grab Rome Odunze. They need a receiver. They trade back and miss out on Marvin Harrison Jr., but they can still get a top 3 receiver in this class by just moving up a few spots, and you're still collecting assets with trading with Minnesota like this. It's a very good deal for them in the long run. The Chicago Bears, with the board playing out like this, I think they have to go and get the best defensive player on the board, and that's Dallas Turner. They could be another team who trades out. Maybe the Raiders really want a quarterback and they get a little, angsty and they want to jump up ahead of the Broncos. Maybe the Broncos do the same. Maybe they just want to secure their spot and they go up to 9 to get a quarterback themselves. But right now, I think Dallas, if they can get the best defensive and the best offensive player in this draft, that would be an absolute steal. I just said the Chicago Bears because they were right above them. The Jets. This is a tough one. They could still go O-line. They very well could. But if they're not going to go O-line, they're going Brock Bowers, and that's what we're doing here. And I'm not going to hold off about it. That's a really good pick for them. They need another weapon for Rodgers. They have Tyler Conklin. Whoop-de-doo. Tyler Conklin is a very solid tight end. That's about it. Next up, the Atlanta Falcons. They move back, and they're going to be able to land still probably what they would have drafted at number, 8? This is a good pick for them, a place to be. They could go get a D lineman. Dejon Newton is my favorite one here. I don't even know what I just said his name was. It wasn't that name, but either way. But this is definitely cornerback territory. It's also edge rusher territory. To me, they have a couple good corners. Jared Verse is on the board. Go ahead and grab a very good prospect on the edge in Jared Verse. The Broncos are going to take a pick here that, yeah, it's a little steep, but the quarterback position is needed. Bo Nix, he fits what Sean Payton generally likes to do. He is a very good pre-snap processor. He's a very smart player. And one thing that I want to say about him is you can't blame him for what he was asked to do in college. Same thing with J.J. McCarthy. You can't blame them for what they were asked to do in college. Now, if it was different and there was, maybe he couldn't make a screen pass, it'd be different, right? But with what it is, I don't think it's his fault that he had 77% completion. That's a record because he threw 37 screen passes a game. But that's not his own fault. That's the play calling. Either way, the Raiders. At this point, I don't think they're looking to get a quarterback. Penix is a little too steep here. I don't think he's a higher-end first-round player. Nix has the mental upside to control that, the processor, all those things, the wit that a good NFL quarterback has. I don't see that as much with Penix or even with the other quarterbacks, but they just have more talent than they have brains. Bo Nix has the brain here of the class. They're going to look at other things, and I think this is a really good fit spot for either Fuaga or Fatanu, whichever one you want. We're going to go with Fuaga on this one. And then quickly, the Saints are going to come in and take Fatanu. I think at this point, they need to tackle both ways. They got to get something there, and you know what? There's a very good one right there for you. The Colts, to me, I think Quinion Mitchell at this point is a Colt. I just don't see it another way right now. It makes too much sense, as well as Le'etu Latu. He just seems like he's a Seahawk. I don't know why. I don't really have a great reason, other than they need an edge rusher, and he's a good edge rusher. That's enough for me to reason that. The Jaguars. This could be a trade down spot here. This definitely could be. What do I want to do here? This is one that I have not thought about entirely yet. In terms of O-linemen, they don't really need a tackle that much, but I don't feel like an interior O-lineman is here. These two are definitely these three are all definitely tackles. Barton could move inside, but he's more of a center, and I don't know that you want to take a center at pick 17 of the draft. I think here you're looking at, in terms of like a fit to their team, you might look at Terrion Arnold. You might look at Nate Wiggins. You could even look at receiver Brian Thomas Jr. or A.D. Mitchell. I don't know. I think the smart move would be to go get a real weapon for Trevor Lawrence because Christian Kirk is not a wide receiver one. Calvin Ridley was not a wide receiver one. So get him a real potential weapon, and that could be a wide receiver one day to give him a step up. But at the same time, the defense could use some help as well. I think we're going to switch it up a little bit, but go Terrion Arnold. Usually I draft Nate Wiggins because I feel like they like him a lot. But I think Terrion Arnold is just as good anyways. The Bengals. This one to me, I think after losing DJ Reader, they kind of need to go the interior of their D-line. Jerzon Newton is my favorite guy here. I just think it makes too much sense. The Rams are going to get an absolute steal of a pick here, getting tackle Olu Fashanu from Penn State. This guy would have been the best tackle in the class last year. He was, actually, before he decided to go back to college. But better than Paris Johnson, better than Peter Skoronski, better than Broderick Jones. Yet, he decided to stay, and he actually hurt himself a little bit. But I think he will be fine in the NFL. He's going to be a good player. If you were that confident on him last year, I think there's no reason to not be confident on him this year. They need a tackle, and he can play either side. Either one you want, he'll be there. The Steelers. If you've been around my channel, you know that I love Cooper DeJean. I think he would be a Steeler and a great one at that. He can move around. He can play that nickel role. He can do the outside. He can play safety. Whatever you need this guy to do, he can do it. At this point, there's interest of them in Graham Barton. Maybe they want that tackle center flexibility because they might need one of each. Maybe you want Amarius Mims or J.C. Latham so you can kick Broderick Jones back to his original left tackle spot and move one of these at right tackle. Maybe you want Brian Thomas or A.D. Mitchell because all you have right now is George Pickens and Van Jefferson. And, well, George Pickens is fine, but after that, no, not so much. I think this could be a definite trade spot. The Ayuk news has come up, and yes, the Niners are not looking to trade Ayuk, but Ayuk also doesn't necessarily want to be there. And I think the Niners are at a point where maybe they are, willing to move him for the right price. And I don't think that price is going to be all that steep considering the contract. I think this is a legitimate option. The Niners can move up, do a pick swap. Also, the Steelers give up their first third rounder or second, whichever one. We'll do this one. And they give up a second next year as well. Something like that, plus the player Brandon Ayuk. Not the right one there. Excuse me. Brandon Ayuk. I think this is a framework of a real trade, a possible trade. Because if you look at like other trades like this, with a contract expiring, you can't really ask for tons, right? You move up 11 spots, you get a second and a third rounder. That's a really solid gain. I think it is a realistic possibility. Will it happen? I don't know, but it's definitely realistic and possible. I'm going to make it happen in this mock draft, and the Niners are going to come up and they're going to grab pretty much an exact replacement. They're going to go in and get Brian Thomas Jr. Not an exact replacement in terms of play style, but in terms of, another weapon, right? Brian Thomas can take the top off. He's going to be able to do a lot of things in the deep section of the field. He's a really good receiver prospect, and not like he's the same thing Ayuk was, but it's a good bring up for them, and they don't really necessarily lose anything. They also bring in a guy who they're not going to have to pay super soon. The Dolphins are on the clock, and I think there's a world where they could look at drafting Michael Penix. I think Tua has not necessarily proven himself enough to be not off the board. The Buccaneers want to come up. Interesting. I was just interested in who that was. Either way, to me, I think you lose Christian Wilkins, and that is a massive, massive loss, especially with how the rest of that D-line's played out. Byron Murphy's going to be the pick here. I think it makes too much sense overall. The Eagles, this is an interesting one here. They could go corner very quickly. They need a corner bad. Darius Slay, he's still a good player. They did bring back Avonte Maddox, so that makes me think more Nate Wiggins, Kool-Aid McKinstry than Cooper DeJean. However, Cooper DeJean can play the outside, and you like a guy, you like a guy. However, it is expected they want to draft in the trenches. They want to fix the offensive line or preventatively fix the offensive line. Graham Barton could be a guy here. I think J.C. Latham or Marius Mims are more likely, though. I'm going to go with Marius Mims to the Eagles. I think it's a solid team fit. I think it makes sense in their terms of their team and how they like to run things. But either way, it's a solid pick, no doubt about it. The Cardinals on the board again. Originally, they got Roma Dunze by moving down and then up a little bit. Now they're back here. They could go get a J.C. Latham and move Paris Johnson Jr. back to his left tackle spot. They could also draft best player available or just get other options for themselves. I think they do that part. I think they go probably a Nate Wiggins. He just seems to fit more Cardinals than like a Cooper DeJean would. I just don't see him as a Cardinal right now. But either way, the Cowboys here, they could use a few things. Graham Barton could be interesting to them. J.C. Latham could be interesting to them. I think they go, at this point, J.C. Latham. They need the O-lineman bad. After they lost Tyron Smith, they have to figure some things out pretty rough. And I just don't know about Graham Barton just yet. Then the Packers on the board. Cooper DeJean there for them. Kool-Aid McKinstry there for them. But they're in a similar spot. They need O-line help bad. And I think this could be a spot for Graham Barton as well. Graham Barton is a very talented player. He's possible that he could go anywhere in this section. But, yeah, Graham Barton, he's going to go to the Packers here. It's the positional need and what makes sense. The Buccaneers here, they are going to luck themselves into drafting Cooper DeJean. This guy should have been off the board 16 picks ago. He's a very talented player, and he can play anywhere on the field. It's going to be a great pick one way or another, and they need it anyways. They need it. After trading, which one did they trade? They traded one of their corners. Was it Jamel Dean? No, they kept him. Carlton Davis? Yeah, Carlton Davis. They traded. Either way, they've got to make some moves on things like that. The Cardinals back on the board quickly again. You could go get a two-headed monster with Roma Dunze and A.D. Mitchell. That would be a special draft. That would be awesome. But you've drafted corner, you've drafted receiver. Now it's time to look elsewhere. What do you like here? Tyler Guyton could be a solid pick here. You could go get an edge rusher. That's a need. That's a definite need. What is here at edge rusher right now? Chop Robinson makes some sense. Darius Robinson can make some sense depending on which kind of player they want. With their defense, I think we're going to go with an edge rusher, and we're going to go Chop Robinson. He seems to fit their defense more. He's all gas, no brakes, and that's fine. You just got to control it. Once again, the beautiful marriage of A.D. Mitchell and the Buffalo Bills, that's going to be a pick that if he's on the board when they get on the clock, there is no doubt in my mind that he will be a Bill. No doubt in my mind. The Detroit Lions, they could low-key, not really low-key, high-key use a receiver. They could definitely use one. Xavier Legette would be a great Lion. Is it a little early? Sure. But right now, I don't think that matters too bad. Kool-Aid McKinstry is on the board. That is an interesting one as well. I don't think Jackson Powers Johnson ends up being an early first-round pick in terms of, he's not going to – I don't think he's going to go between 15 to 25. I just don't think centers are that valuable because they've proven to not be. In other drafts, Creed Humphrey, a great center prospect. He's now one of the best centers in the league. He was taken 59th overall. Centers are not taken early. They could use a center potentially, but at the same time, that's just because Frank Ragnow gets hurt, but he plays through it anyways. Moving on through this one, I think receiver does make a lot of sense here. You have Amon-Ra St. Brown, so you're really not looking at the Lad McConkeys. You're more looking at an X-receiver, right? You want a big guy who can go downfield and make things happen. Be that prototypical type receiver one. Keon Coleman has potential for that. Jalen Polk could be that. Xavier Legette. I think Xavier Legette makes the most sense, though. He seems the most Detroit fitting, the Dan Campbell fitting. And with the Ravens on the board, this ain't going to take any time. Kool-Aid McKinstry is a good enough corner for them to grab fast. Their cornerback room has been depleted, and they need help because they might even be getting rid of Marlon Humphrey. So the Steelers, back on the board after trading their pick earlier. Brandon Ayuk, they joined him on the team, so receivers out of the picture here. Now you're looking at tackle or center, in my opinion, with what's on the board at least. I think Jackson Powers Johnson, this is in play simply because of the gain of the receiver need and also where you're at in the draft now. 31 is a much better spot to take a center, even though it's still not the best. But with the need and everything like that, okay. Tyler Guyton could be a pick here. Jordan Morgan could be the pick here. However, I think Powers Johnson will be the pick. Steelers do like him. It seems like it'll be fine either way. And with the Chiefs, I think they are going to trade out of this pick. Who are they going to trade out with? I just had a thought because now maybe they won't. Because I was thinking the Raiders, but they're division rivals. So do they want them to do that? Probably not. Would the Chiefs let the Raiders come up to grab Michael Penix? I don't think they will. The Chiefs, they're going to sit here, and they're going to take a receiver more than likely. Oh, they could go Tyler Guyton. They could definitely go Tyler Guyton. I think actually we're going to go Jordan Morgan and put him on the Chiefs this time around. They're going to take him really quick, and it's going to be a very solid pick for them, no doubt about it. So once this pulls up, here we go. Caleb Williams, Drake May, Jaden Daniels, the top three, as they have been for a while. We have some good trades here with the Vikings coming up. The Cardinals moving down to 11, then trading back up to 8 with the Falcons. You get the Pittsburgh Steelers trading for Brandon Ayuk. The Niners coming up and getting Brian Thomas. Bills getting A.D. Mitchell. Steelers getting Ayuk and Jackson Powers Johnson effectively out of this first round. This is a very solid mock draft, I think. I think there is definitely, this is a plausible, definitely realistic type mock draft that could happen. Either way, let me know what you think about this down in the comments below. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.